You are now listening to Femme Regard podcast with Tessa Markle
and Carolina Alvarez.
Femme. So welcome back, listeners. We have another fantastic guest for you today. We're really excited. First of all, I just want to mention that we've been getting so many guests this year. Everybody has been home in quarantine. So we've gotten a hold of a lot of people that we probably wouldn't normally have gotten to talk to. So that's been really cool. And we're always looking for more guests. If there's anyone you would love to hear us interview or anyone in mind that you think would be great on the show, listeners, please let us know. But today we have Mandy May Cheetham. She is an actress, writer, creator, and now consultant. And I met Mandy through an acting teacher. And we talked with her a little bit about Femme Regard and, what we want to do with the company. And she really helped guide us in the right direction. So we'll talk a little more about her consulting later on, but I would love to just talk about you, Mandy, and how you got started and your first few projects and what led you to where you are today.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was born, I'm just kidding. Chapter 1, I was born. No, I am born, I think is how it goes. Okay, so acting wise, like entertainment industry, I started 10 years ago. I'm coming up on 10 years in January, and I was 35 at the time, and lots of people told me I was psycho to try and start a career at that stage of my life. I had spent 10 years running a cheerleading business before that and done pretty well with it, but it ended. It was time for me to admit what I had really always wanted to do, and that was to be an actor. So I bought The Artist's Way and started doing the book, and within the first week I had this crazy dream that told me about my dreams of doing comedy and being on stage, and I woke up and I was like, oh my God, this is it, I'm an actor. Let's go. And then I went to Second City like the next day and ended up cast in a play by the end of the week. So it was really, really fast.
Yeah.
And there have been several, moves throughout the course of the past 10 years. I lived in New York and studied at Strasberg and went to, LA back and forth and grew up in Toronto. So lots of studying and lots of not only learning about the craft of acting, but I also wanted to understand holistically how the industry worked, because I came from a business background. I had built a company that I was operating in 14 countries by the time it ended.
Wow.
And I felt like, there's a lot of tendencies within the industry for people to just sort of stick actors in a corner, especially when you're first developing your career.
Mm-hmm.
And say actors think this way, and then there's this whole other world that exists. And I was like, I don't think I think there's something that they're not telling me,
Mm-hmm.
So I researched everything. I edited my own shorts and on a little flip cam, and went to markets and went to Cannes and went to the Toronto Film Festival and Banff and MIPCOM, which is a TV market in France, and just tried to learn all the pieces, because there's a lot to know about how everything works. And the more you know, the more you understand your piece of it. And it actually took a lot of the pressure off in terms of what I expected of myself as an actor to show up with. Like I knew that there were 14 people, if not more, making the decision to cast one person. So it really put that into perspective, and then was obviously the gateway to me starting to make my own content and sell it.
Nice.
If that's a good short version.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think your approach is really smart, and a lot of people should be doing it that way, looking at it from the business side. And it's tough because I feel like we're not really taught the business side of the industry right away. And that should be like the first thing, because you have to understand that to be able to be successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even just I just finished a project in Philadelphia that was really, really artistically amazing, challenging. And I worked with two three teenage actors, and I was acting in this project.
Mhm.
And one of the things I realized when I was on set, because I became this sort of de facto acting coach for the teenagers, because a lot of them were, in early stages of their careers, obviously. And I was helping to communicate between them and, the AD and the director and everyone else about how the day was going to go. Because
Mhm.
like they don't know necessarily how to read a call sheet or what order the shots are going to be done in, and different directors do it differently. I mean, most people start with a wide, but sometimes you're only going to get a 2-shot, sometimes you're going to get a close up and a medium close. Like they don't ever tell you this information when you walk onto the set. They're just like, okay, here we go, ready. But like it was a really heavy subject matter, and we needed to pace ourselves.
Mhm.
Like when is it my coverage, when is it their coverage, and when's my close up? Not that I'm not going to give a lot in the wide, but it's heavy, and we have enough resistance to the material already that we don't
Mhm.
need to blow it on when they're still kind of tweaking the lighting, you know what I
Oh
mean?
my God,
Right.
yeah.
So I was like, why doesn't anyone teach the rhythm of a shoot to actors? Why aren't people on set, ADs, taught about or directors taught about the necessity of prepping actors for that rhythm and keeping us
Mhm.
informed and letting us know of changes, even changes to pickup times.
Yeah.
Like my pickup time changed by 45 minutes, and I was like, no, but I'm in an emotional place now where I need to go into hair and makeup. Like for that 45 minutes makes me sit in this shit pie for another 45 minutes that I don't need to be sitting in,
Right.
So there's so much to learn because there's so many moving pieces just within the act of production itself, never mind like taking a project to market or trying to raise the money for it, or so it was really challenging for me because I was wearing the hat of supporting these emerging actors, and also trying to support and pace myself. And then also I just know a lot about filmmaking, so like
Mhm.
supporting the director, and it was a master's thesis film, so they all had a lot of experience but not necessarily a professional like long career. So there's a lot of things that I just knew being a director or being a producer, that I was
Mhm.
like, or I've been an AD, and I was just like, here's some information about this.
Yeah.
This is how this could be easier for you. And I find that actors just like we know so much. Like most actors that I know are
Yeah.
really smart and really multi-talented, and we're not used by production for the things that we know and the ways that we could help before, during pre-production, during, and after, especially for promotion and all of that kind of stuff. It's like this massive asset that just isn't being utilized.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, a lot of us, wear multiple hats, have done multiple things, but even the people who haven't like created their own project, if you've been on set enough, you're super familiar with it. And like you said, like
Yeah.
we're smart people, and yeah, I think definitely actors are underused a lot.
No, I love that you highlight that and voice that, because we have more so a lot of directors and producers, and a lot of them are open to a collaborative kind of environment with the actor. And we get asked to ourselves on the show, like, how 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 do you as an actor like to communicate with the director? Do you like direction? And even the way people are given direction is kind of personal and is, personal to that actor. But I think we should be able to have more of these collaborative conversations before, in pre-production, let's say. Like we should
Mhm.
probably sit down and be like, okay, so we know we have this coming up, this scene or this day, like how should we work around that, especially if it is like an emotionally draining material and stuff. Because man, I can't imagine have to like, yeah, hold something out or do something like 20 times, and then the work suffers at the end of the
Yeah.
day. And like, you don't want to have to, then you, in the producer hat, you're like, oh, I have to now do a retake if we don't get it right, you know, and then that ends up adding costs. So I love that you bring that up, because I think especially as independent filmmakers, we have the opportunity, because we're a smaller team, to work those things out and grow, like by working those things out, those like kinks. So
yeah.
I mean, is there anything like tips or something you would say to like an independent filmmaker on how to better those conversations or hiring the right people in that sense?
Yeah, I think it's like just assume that people know more than you think they do. I think that there's it's part of the patriarchal hierarchy that has been, you know, sort of created around the auteur director. And it's actually just not like helpful for anybody to think of directors that way, least of all the directors. And this particular director actually shared the shot schedule with me, the shot list actually with me before I even left to get on the plane, because I had a conflict. I had a commercial come up I was on hold for, and I was trying to figure out, you know, could I not be there for rehearsal and blah, blah, blah. And so they shared it with me and felt, you know, I understand being a director. I understand the hesitancy in ever sharing your shot list. Like it's because it's not done yet, you know, but like, I think it's never done, but
I love to spill the tea on that. Like, shit, what do I do here? Okay.
No, it's never done. But like sometimes the more people you include, the better. But like actors just have this voice. Like everybody's got their own agenda on set. Every single person.
For sure.
I realized in you know, in this shoot that I was on, where I was like, oh my God, they're not getting close-ups. And I know they're not getting close-ups because I'm the one not getting a close-up.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm like, you know, listen, I made this mistake once before on my project I was directing. I didn't get close-ups. And the reason you don't get close-ups is because your cinematographer, you're relying on them for like, to help you get the coverage that you need, except guess what shots they want to do? Like not the close-ups, because close-ups all look the same. You know, it's like same old lighting, same old framing, but like they want the big sweeping shots, and you get carried away with that because you're trying to make your mark as a filmmaker. But like the story can't be told without the close-ups. You have no emotional story.
Correct.
And it's just like so easy to miss that, especially in your early days as a director. And if you don't have a communication, like if the actor doesn't feel safe to say that kind of stuff to you, you're not going to hear it, because everyone else has such different agendas. Like who's really there looking out for the story? I mean, I thought it was my scriptie, but it wasn't my scriptie. I don't know what the hell they were doing. Because like, you know, continuity wasn't a real big issue on that particular shoot. And then here's the other thing. On this last shoot I was on, I was supporting the other actors and helping them because neither of them had cried before on cue. So like, it was like, you know, here I'm going to work them up into that state and help them with that, which was awesome. But I'm sitting in front of the monitor with the scriptie and I'm like, oh, there's that shadow, there's this, like I'm seeing all this shit on.
Oh my God.
I just have the eye, and like of course they're seeing all this stuff too, but like I just have a different eye, you know what I mean? And so I'm like you know, jumping around, and then to go from being behind the camera and being able to offer so much there, and then being like, okay, now you have to be in front of the camera. You have to let go of your ego because now you think you know everything because you saw a boom in the shot or whatever. And now you got to let go of that and go and be so vulnerable and lose in this scene. Like the scene was about me losing and the humility that this character required. And it was like, oh my God, it was really amazing and really challenging. And it made me more confident. You know, after you've directed something, it's really nice to go on another set and not direct. And it's like holding someone's baby after you have like a teenager. Like you're like, oh, look how cute they are. Yeah, this is easy. I could do this again. You know, you kind of forget. But it made me like want to maybe do it again at some point.
Are you a podcaster like us? Vlogger? Interview conductor? Do you need a VO booth or ADR? Remote audio video professional recording?
Ooh, Tessa, spill the tea.
Well, the Network Studios in Culver City is a fully functional recording oasis with multiple rooms made to cater specifically to audio podcasts, video interviews, and voiceover, plus an experienced sound engineer with the ability to edit and master. All your needs will be covered.
Audio engineer extraordinaire Mike Casentini has worked with several podcast heavy hitters and got us started from the ground up. He's the reason we sound so good. Plus, all of our in-studio guests have been very impressed.
To find out more, visit www.thenetworkstudios.com and book your next recording session. COVID compliant and open for business.
Also, I think, just to kind of segue a little bit into some of the stuff that we were talking about in the early days, 4 months ago, however long ago it was, about you guys and the multiple hats that you wear and about finding, where your heart lives. And I think that one of the things that's helped me so much, through quarantine is exactly that, like being willing to be so deeply in love with this art form that I am just completely humbled by it. I'm completely I'm just worshiping on the altar of acting as often as I can and gone deeper into the thing than I've ever gone, and with no hope in sight of ever working. It's like I'm just so in love. I'm so in love with it again, like I was when I first started, and I've had lots of fights with it and terrible moments. Even during the class I was just in like an hour ago, I was like, what am I doing? I hate this. And then I was like, look, I'll stop talking in a minute, but you can't keep having this conversation. You're either in this or you're not. This is not a conversation we're going to have anymore, and if you do decide to let go of this art form at some point in your life, you're going to do it with love, and it's not going to be a temper tantrum. So that's enough. And those temper tantrums just come up when I get close to being vulnerable again. So all that to say that it's all good. Like doing all the things is all good, just as long as I'm doing it from a place of internal motivation and humility and love for the thing, and not from a place of I have to do all of these things because I'm scared I'm not a good enough actor and no one will hire me, so I have to produce my own work, or out of frustration or proving or any of that stuff. It's fine, if it kicks off the thing and helps you learn, but it's not sustainable. What's sustainable is admitting you are powerless over the addiction that you have to the thing you love.
Yeah, I think being an artist is one of those things that it's no matter what your art is, whether it's acting or filmmaking or being a musician or whatever, it's this is a career in which you're going to be spending all your own money. There's no guarantee of any work. It's the hardest thing to possibly pursue. So you've got to love it. You've got to not be able to do anything else. And even, personally with producing, for instance, I started doing that with Carolina because I felt like I had to, and it wasn't something that I really loved. But now at this point, it's I can't help it. I'll be on sets as an actor and it'll be a beginner filmmaker. And like you said, you'll notice things that are wrong or could be better or whatever. And I tell myself don't even just be an actor, but I can't help it. You just can't help it.
And then I yell at Tessa. I'm like, Tessa, you're only a producer for Femme Regard, so stop taking up all this shit. You work for me. No, no, I'm just kidding. No, but it's something I really loved, Mandy, when we chatted, that you surfaced some of my insecurities with just wanting to be okay with just wanting to be an actor or wearing the artist hat. And not letting my entrepreneurial endeavors just always like be fear-based and taking over the artist in me, which happens a lot because I'm just like, I need money. I need to survive out here. So how can I continue to do that? But also, something that I think that was so great that we covered is there's a space for like everything, and we can work in balance, and we can navigate both. And because I really feel like I am both. I am both like the producer business person wanting, but I'm also so much of a creative is still like, it's the root of me. It's like, that is what I love. So it's, I think that was something really great that we touched on. And I don't know, for our listeners, any advice that you would want to reiterate from our conversation just on how do you how do you maintain both, or and is it really like something one can do, which I think you can navigate through both. It's just it's a process. I think you have to know when to let the actor or artist thrive and when to let the business side also like help you grow and sustain yourself.
Well, I think it starts with asking yourself what the motivation is behind the impulse before you act, like take action, let's say. So is this coming from fear or is it coming from love? And some of the consulting clients that I've been working with, we do an activity where they write out all of the projects that they want to create, or everything from, I had one person write down drink water and put it on a sticky note in the pile of all the things they feel like they need to do in a day. Like we're mostly just kicking our own ass all day, and and then I was like, separate all these things, that book you want to write, the films you feel like you need to read scripts for, blah blah blah, and what is motivated by fear and what is motivated by love. When you can start to ask that question, you start to see where where your heart lies, where your artist wants to live. And the artist can live in business. It's very creative to finance a film and produce a film and work out all of the pieces. But if it's coming from a place that's motivated by fear, that's what I mean by it not being sustainable. And the other thing that's really interesting to look at is that being an artist is a very feminine energy. Being an actor in particular, in the way that sets are structured, it can be a very feminine energy. You are the receiver of the information, and you are holding space for the, let's call it that divine spark of inspiration to move through you and execute and meet the script and meet the character. Producing, everyone approaches it differently, but producing can be a very masculine energy, driven by results and shapes. And shapes, by what I mean by shapes is like, spreadsheets and concrete things that show up and get set up, and even light is like a shape, lighting something. So a lot of the stuff that's happening in production is masculine. And so think about how many people there are on a set with this masculine energy, and how many people there are on a set with this feminine energy, and how much masculine energy the feminine needs to receive and process on a set, right? And so even if you take the set as the microcosm for the world, you walk around in the world and the world is full of masculine energy. So you see, artists like Marilyn Monroe, for example, who's this very, had perfected executing the feminine energy, perfected the character of the feminine energy. And she's this iconic figure that just will not go away, because we're so out of balance as a society between the masculine and the feminine. So what does that mean? And that's why I say, like, the humility and the sort of like surrendering to this altar that I worship on as an artist, as an actor, is I feel in part surrendering to that feminine energy and being able to receive what is given to you on set, and then translate that into what you know to do with your art form. Like, you know, when you said earlier about directors asking, how do you like to be directed? It's completely impossible to answer that question, because for me, it's like different scene to scene, moment to moment, day to day as to what I want from a director or what I need. And I have this wonderful teacher that I studied with, Gregory Berger Sobek. He runs the Berg Studio in LA, and he teaches at Yale. He does their on-camera work and private coaches for like Lupita Nyong'o and all these wonderful actors. He says directing is translation. So when somebody gives you a direction, your job is to translate it into the language that you speak as an actor, and then execute what they're asking for. You know, and directors have their own thing that they want to feel. Like, I have worked with directors who want to just walk up to me before a scene and give me the backstory of my character, which like doesn't always help. Maybe it's going to piss me off that they're giving me that backstory, but I'm going to translate that into my character. Okay, so now my Mandy's angry, so that means my character's angry. So how am I going to channel that into the sadness that I'm supposed to execute on the third word of the second line of the speech?
Yeah.
You know, like tears turn tears. Now it's like, oh my God, how do I set this up for myself? You know? And, you know, it's practice in all of these forms. And the deeper I get into all of these art forms, writing, directing, producing, they're all art forms, acting, the more I realize that within myself, it's about balancing the masculine and feminine, and knowing when each one is it's safe, when and where it's safe for each one to exist. You know, like I couldn't have been on that set and supported the project in the way that I did if that director wasn't so incredibly safe. I felt so safe with them, like to the point where we were screaming at each other before a take. They were yelling at me and saying, "You're a bad mother," and I was like, "Fuck you." Fuck off. And in that moment I was like charging into the scene, you know, and I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna work together again.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the way it should be, you know.
Yeah.
No one's taking it personally, it's just art.
Right. And that's so important, to feel that, like, to feel safe, you know, to feel comfortable, to feel like you can experiment, to feel like you can translate, which I love that you said that you have to translate, you know, direction that's given to you or feelings that come up or whatever. Yeah, it's just so important, because you can't like thrive and experiment and let it all out if you don't feel safe.
Well, and oftentimes we have to. Like I had this other teacher, a Meisner teacher I worked with in Toronto named John Ribbon, who I also just think is a mad genius. And he said, you know, the reason we do Meisner, all he does is repetition. He does nothing else. The reason that we do this is because when you're on a set, you're under duress. So this is teaching you how to make decisions. It's like a jump shot. Over and over again, repeat, make the decision whether to jump off the cliff and take a risk and go into the unknown, or do what's safe and what you know, go back to your tricks, cry, whatever your tricks are. Over and over again, you're just practicing that. You know, and you need to do it in this kind of intense situation, because when you're on set, you're under duress. There's so much going on. It's like impossible to human on a set, never mind open yourself up and be vulnerable. And for everybody, everyone is so triggered, and if the material's any good, everyone's so screwed up by that in itself, you know.
Yeah, totally.
That's amazing.
Well, I love all the things that you're saying, and the kind of advice that you're giving, but also like perspective, you know, of ways to look at it, of being on set. So I don't want to give like everything away that you know, but let our listeners know how they can contact you, what exactly kind of you do as a consultant, you know, how they can get the most out of that and everything.
Yeah, I work with only a few clients, because it really is very personal and intensive work. And what I'm finding there's two types. One is a multi-hyphenate artist, and the other type is a company. So the companies that I work with, I think I do the best work when they are trying to find clarity around why they're doing what they're doing and what it is that they really want. And oh, hey, that's the exact same work that I do for multi-hyphenate artists, because it's really hard to get clear sometimes as to what is the fear and what is the love. It's easy for me to just say that to you. Decide what's coming from fear and what's coming. Well, your ego's really smart, and it's going to tell you that everything's coming from love, if that's the kind of mood it's in. So really doing a deep dive into helping you come to terms with the things that you already know. And then being able to take action toward those things with the support of somebody who's been there. For the most part, I've pretty much taken all the wrong turns and made all the quote unquote wrong decisions to get me to the place where I feel really right in my life. So, so yeah, usually I work with people through referrals, and you can also find me on Instagram at Manda Murhead, MANDAMURHEAD, which is some name that my next door neighbor made up for me when I was like 3. I don't know. I didn't think Instagram was going to be a thing, so I just like put that on there. Yeah. What do I know?
Mandy.
And also for our listeners to find the projects you've created, like, is that through your Instagram as well? Because you have some really creative, like fun stuff that you've made, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah.
So my show Mother was on a show called Rachel Dratch's Late Night Snack, which was on True TV. And I've actually pirated my own episodes. And they're also on my Instagram, because why not? They're on the YouTube, I think, too. And then I have another show called Rapping with Actors, which is a talk show that's on Amazon Prime. And Trophies is one that I'm working on right now, which is a show about all-star cheerleading. And that is on their Instagram channel, Trophies TV.
Oh, very cool.
Instagram dies. Yeah.
Perfect.
And I think that's it. I don't know. Who knows? And I've been doing like these song monologues that I'm having a lot of fun with. And putting them up on Instagram too. So that's all there. It's all there.
Song
Fantastic.
monologues. Love that.
Yeah.
And she raps, guys, and she tap dances, and
I don't tap dance.
No, she doesn't. No, doesn't do that. I was just trying to.
She does rap.
She does rap.
Yeah. So listeners, check her out. She's a lot of fun. If you are interested in her consulting, contact us. We'll connect you guys, and thank you, listeners. As always, thank you, Mandy, so much for coming on today. This was an awesome chat. Like, I could talk to you for another hour.
just on it, breaking it down. And I think that you really gave our listeners an awesome perspective that isn't talked about a lot. And so I really appreciate you being so open about your experiences and like what we need to think about when we're on set, when there's like 10 million things to think about, because everyone's under the pressure and we all get that, So I think that was a really awesome perspective for us to touch on today. So thank you on that.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Femme Regard Podcast. If you like what you hear, tune in next time for more tips on the filmmaking business and insightful conversations with industry professionals over tea.
We can only grow with your support, so please subscribe, share, rate, and give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. If you leave us a great comment, we might give you a shout out on the show. For more on us, check us out at femregard.com.